there, welcome to Dateline Abuja. I'm Gloria Umezuke. The residents of Duse Sabayi, a suburb in Buari Area Council in the nation's capital, have been cut off from the access roads in their community. Now, this happened after two bridges in the area collapsed following a heavy downpour. Though no casualties were recorded during the incident, the residents are looking up to the Federal Capital Territory Administration and the Buari Area Council to come to their aid. Well, we will bring you a report in this segment that focuses on the FCT. But first, what are the stories that made headlines within the week in the nation's capital? The Inspector General of Police, Mr. Mohammed Adamu, is asking for the help of the international police in curbing the proliferation of small arms and light weapons. Mr. Adamu was speaking at the opening ceremony of the Interpol Week.
I will urge and ask Interpol to come up with a threat assessment of proliferation of light weapons as it affects Nigeria, to identify the route where these arms are coming into Nigeria, the actors that are involved, and provide solutions so as to help us in fighting this scourge.
The international non-governmental organization Human Rights Watch are calling on the federal government to end detention of trafficked victims in shelters by providing more support. This is part of the organization's 2019 report on trafficking of women and girls in Nigeria. However, the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons insists the report is inaccurate.
After going through the report, we are bold to say that the entire report is a mere figment of the imagination of the writers, as the narratives fall below the standards in the operations of our shelters, as well as the standards for our victim support and assistance. It is important to note that the agency observes all the world's best practices in victim handling as enshrined by the Palermo Protocol, which includes that no victim shall be kept in a shelter against his or her own will.
The federal government is insisting that the country will not lose any of its assets in spite of the ruling by a court in the United Kingdom awarding the sum of $9.6 billion against the Nigerian government in favor of Process and Industrial Developments Limited. The Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, made the revelation at a media briefing.
Nigeria is not, and I repeat, is not about to lose any of its assets to PNID.
The Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission is developing a corruption index in Nigeria. The chairman of the commission, Professor Bolaji Owasonye, said this while presenting a policy brief on eradicating electoral corruption in Nigeria.
It will help us to look at existing government policies that are designed to challenge corruption but are not working well right now. The outcome of the survey should help us to pinpoint what are those areas of vulnerabilities, and then we can propose those policy measures. The last, of course, is that it can lead to enforcement measures. Enforcement measure, of course, will require investigation. So you have to follow all of the standard professional steps before you take enforcement measure.
The federal government has approved a reduction in visa fees payable by United States citizens from $180 to $160. The action was taken after the U.S. government announced a new visa regime stating that Nigerians applying for U.S. visas will be required to pay a visa issuance fee or reciprocity fee. The Minister of Interior, Mr. Rauf Aregbesola, explained that the Comptroller General of Nigeria Immigration Service, Mr. Mohammed Babandede, had been directed to implement the decrease in visa charges immediately. The Federal High Court has refused to grant the motion filed by the convener of the Revolution Now protests, Mr. Omoyele Sowore, challenging his detention for 45 days by the Department of State Security. Justice Nkeonye Maha, who declined all applications by counsel to Sowore, Mr. Femi Falana, sent the case back to Justice Taiwo for further hearing.
The court has just delivered its ruling, right? We're going to meet with our client today in order to take a decision on the matter. But in the interim, In the interim, we are back to the Honorable Justice Taiwo as per the ruling of the court.
Meanwhile, the federal government has alleged that the leader of the Islamic movement of Nigeria, Sheikh Ibrahim El-Zakzaky, has the sole aim of turning Nigeria into an Islamic state. The government made these claims in a counter-affidavit it filed against the group's motion, challenging the court's order prescribing the group.
The court has granted us the 11th day of September for the argument.
The Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, is reminding Nigerians of the national commitment which recognizes the equality of all, regardless of ethnicity, religion or status, and the imperative of all individuals and governments to respect the rights and dignity of all as enshrined in the Constitution. Professor Osinbajo issued the reminder at a meeting of Christian and Muslim youths in Abuja.
We in this nation are at a historic juncture in the existence of our country. Here and there, we have religious and tribal tensions. Yet our Constitution speaks in the clearest and highest terms of our national commitment to the equality of all Nigerians, regardless of ethnicity, religion, or status. It's not between Islam and Christianity, but between extremism and human solidarity, between the forces of hate and intolerance and those of empathy and peace. So on behalf of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, I commend you and urge you to do even more.